Swirling around in the beautiful blue, somewhere between the equator and you, there's a tear in the sky where the albatross flew. Man and his madness makes nightmares come true. Unfortunately, this is so, and that's why I want you to know. There is an island the size of Texas, a floating island of piles and piles of plastic. It's simply drastic, it's not fantastic, because the fishes all eat plastic soup.
Hello, and welcome to Tell Me About Your Song, a podcast where I talk to musicians and songwriters about a song they wrote. Today I'm talking to Zoe Lewis, and the song she'll be talking about is named Plastic Soup, and is from her album The Sound of Wings. So where would you like to start, Zoe?
When you're a songwriter, you start seeing songs all around. And when you get moved by something or angry about something, you're lucky enough to have a platform to be heard, to put your voice out there. It's lovely. So even if 10 people hear it, that's okay. If 20, 100, and then it escalates. We all have our story. So anyway, I'm pleased with this song because it's fun song, but it's Zoe Lewis being political as much as I am political in my music. I am political in a fun way. People think, oh, she's just a funny songwriter, but you still say your things. You can ease them in and get your points across, get them to the people. I'm from a little village on the south coast of England. I come from the seaside. Now I live in Provincetown, Cape Cod. Also by the sea. I need to be living on the edge, and I always gravitate towards beautiful beach towns. Anyway, I love my nature, and of course, I find plastic all the time, walking on the beach, and pick it up, have always done so. Traveled the world a lot, went to India not too long ago, couldn't believe how much plastic was strewn all over the place. Everywhere you go, you find it. So I volunteered for the Coastal Studies Centre in Provincetown. And they did a beach clean, but it was a fascinating beach clean. It's pristine. It looks pristine at first sight, but when you go underneath the seaweed and start searching, you'll find all the microplastic. We find in Cape Cod, we get a lot of Maine fishing stuff because so much is made of plastic. Things used to be made of rope in the old days. Now, everything's plastic. We use so much plastic. So we started documenting the different plastic. Every tiny piece, the wrappers, the straws, the bottle caps, unidentifiable plastic, styrofoam.
Red balloons, plastic cups for plastic tea, just throw it all into the sea! Oh.
Anyway, it was very interesting at the end. When you tally it all up, what you find and where the currents come from, and different times of year and different beaches on the Cape. So anyway, we bought a huge boat back laden from the tip of Cape Cod to the main part of the land. And then every year I've been volunteering and I was really moved by their work. And, I started looking up statistics, and I was just blown away. And that's when I discovered 5 Gyres, which is a great organization. And the Gyres, if you know about them, all the plastic that goes into the ocean heads out to the currents, and there are 5 large gyres where the currents meet, and that's where all the plastic goes, and it never breaks down because plastic doesn't break down. It just gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So some call it plastic smog, some call it plastic soup. So I imagined the ocean full of plastic soup, and I'd read a lot of stuff. The North Pacific Garbage Patch, they were saying that
there is an island the size of Texas, a floating island of piles and piles of plastic.
No, apparently that's fabricated, but it's gigantic anyway. It's and it's not really an island. It's just tons of swirling plastic. And I started looking up more about it and about all the pollution and the devastation it causes to the animals and the ocean life, the fish, of course, and the birds and the mammals, and they have done cut the birds open when they find a dead bird and found so much plastic in its belly, albatrosses and turtles, and I collected all the info and I wrote my song, and it really kind of took off. I made a little video, it went viral, and it's used in schools now. And now I organize because because I sing it all the time, and people come, and now I'm a advocate for cleaning the beaches, and I organize beach cleans. And for me, it's just, I don't even feel like joining an organization. I mean, I have played now for 5 Jayas, but really it's like we have the power. We can just pick up plastic ourselves. We can do it. I mean, if everyone just picked up a few bits, and the beautiful nature would be much better. We can make a dent in the plastic, but most importantly, really, and particularly when I read about it, it's fine to pick up the plastic, but really we shouldn't use the plastic. Always at the gigs, I'm giving them my plastic water bottle to drink from, and I now refuse it. I tell my band, we're not having water, so I have to make sure we've got glass or we've got our own reusable water bottles. But, you can't stand up there and be a hypocrite. It's very easy to be one.
And the solution to this pollution: stop using plastic, cut down on plastic.
Yeah, the tone of it is kind of like, I mean, it reminds me, if you tweaked it a bit, it would be like a supervillain song, right? Because you can just sing it with such glee, and yet it's about this terrible thing. Like, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's evil.
Right.
Yeah.
And all the seagulls and the tiny turtles, colossal whales are full of plastic.
And everyone's screaming out no by the end of the song, because I make them.
Soup. Do you want some soup? No. Would you like some soup? No. Fancy some soup? No. But we don't want your soup.
That's funny that it's a supervillain song. Yeah, well, it's ominous. I mean, it's ominous. But, I don't want to just say, oh, it's terrible, we're killing the earth, bye.
Yeah.
But really, that's what the song's about. But it's in a Cole Porter-esque sort of way with funny rhymes. And you don't turn people off then. And it still gives you some hope that you can change the world and that you can be positive, even though you're screaming no, and make change.
Mm-hmm. Did it have that kind of feel from the beginning?
Well, I'm English, so it's like, would you like some soup? Fancy some soup? I'm force feeding people soup. And you're like screaming. No. And I was like the punk, even though my music's not punk, I have a little punk rock in me. And I like to know, I like to get people screaming no and be angry, but, with tongue in cheek. I mean, I had fun writing, I like to rhyme, and I had fun writing some of the lines. But yeah, I knew how it was going. When I get the chorus, I usually know how I'm going to head to it.
Yeah, and it's also, I feel like, there are so many words in this song.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the avalanche of words also kind of gets across this avalanche of plastic.
Huh.
I don't know. Is that a lot of these are connections that are made up in my mind, but
oh, good.
I just sort of put them out there.
I love that you think that. Oh, yes, of course it was. I meant that. No, I actually cut a verse at the end because I was like, come on, it's getting too long. Because I was having fun. This one just spilled off and it was fun to write. I enjoyed it. I mean, I knew what I wanted to write. There's so many facts you could put in. It's quite factual. So, basically I'm, just saying that all the different creatures that are full of plastic, and we're turning into plastic, and it just from the food chain and the jellyfishes, it just gets passed down. And it's a whole plastic society anyway, and you can read that in so many ways. And we're getting so out of touch with nature. So yeah, I knew. This one was clear.
Mm-hmm.
It's a simple song, but it was written. I love the Cole Porter and the rhyming, and my gosh, there's a lot of words. So if I start the song too fast, especially when I get to the bridge, I'm like, I have a hard time breathing. And what is it? I go, plastic bags, plastic wraps, plastic bottles, plastic caps, styrofoam, and lots of traps, North Pacific garbage trash, plastic forks, plastic spoons, plastic string on red balloons, plastic cups of plastic tea, just throw it all into the sea. So I have to keep calm and not be too excited before the song, otherwise I'm racehorsing through it. My favorite line is, even the porpoise is feeling nauseous. I was pleased when nauseous rhymed with porpoise.
Even the porpoise is feeling nauseous because he can't digest the plastic soup. And in the food chain,
The porpoise feeling nauseous, I do like it because when I deliver it in shows, I kind of linger, and people give me a little giggle. They give me a little titter at that point. I'm always pleased when a line works. You know, there's usually one point in a song that they like it. But I end, you know, even though it's all no, I end up saying, well, we can make a change, and we can, you know, we've got to cut down on plastic. We can save the world. You know, when I organise beach cleans now, tons of people come, and it's really it's fun. And then they start their own beach cleans, and then they, you know, did a gig in Boston, and the people were like, "Can we do a collection for the 5 gyres?" Yeah, you know, so it's people. It's my pet, you know, thing. People like to they pair me with the plastic pollution now. It's kind of that's what people think. Hey, you're the beach clean one. Come and do that song, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Good. So I liked it. That's one of the reasons why I chose it when you asked me too, because I can get the point across too through all the different media.
Have you gotten any particularly memorable responses to this one?
More that people buy the album and go back and play it to their classrooms, you know.
Yeah.
And I was contacted from France. It made it to France for some cleanup group, and they made a video of their beach clean, and they used the song, and then they use it on their website. You know, I always let everyone use it for free, and yeah, it's out there. So you never know where a song goes and who's sharing it. You know, I like to get people to join me on stage because it shows the more people that help, the more power, the louder we can be, the more noise we can make about it, and the more change we can achieve. And everyone's happy to yell no. No one wants to keep it like this. So it's universal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm at least the ones who come to my gigs. And you don't even have to make an organization. You just go and clean. People often come up to me in Provincetown and say, we thought of the other day we were dragging plastic off the beach. You know, and then other people are like, oh yeah, since we heard your song, we're going to go, and we always bring 3 pieces, because sometimes I say, just bring 3. You don't have to, you know, bring it all. I mean, but it gets quite addictive. You can't stop. You start seeing more and more of it, and then I always tie it all together and come back with huge amounts. And then I have to call the rangers and say, please, can you come and pick it up? Because I can't deal with it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But, and then it goes to show, and then I always put it on Facebook, and people are like, wow, you know, that's another way. People are like, oh my God, you found all that stuff. So it's like, well, you just go and pick some. You'll soon find a huge pile. So yes, I'm an optimistic, jovial performer, but this is a bummer.
Yeah, it's a rough one.
I also like to, you know, I try and put on, for a whole gig, I take people on a roller coaster ride and try and, you know, make some points and then take them off on a humorous angle, and then hit them in the gut with an emotional song, and then be silly again. And, you know, it's life. Mm-hmm. It's life, and that's what I try and do in the show.
Yeah, is there a particular place that this tends to go in a set?
Well, on the album, it's the second song. I usually build it, because it's got audience participation, I usually leave it till later on. If I'm doing 2 sets, I'll leave it to the penultimate song of the first set, or maybe near the end of the second set. Depends who's... you know, if there's kids or what kind of, I tailor make it for the crowd. But I've had all sorts of people up.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a whole ton of punk rockers once holding the no signs, and that was great.
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
Because I feel like this song, you know, it's not a kid's song per se. Like, there's some sophistication to it, but I feel like kids also would enjoy and get the message and everything. So
yeah, I don't write kids' music. I just write music, but I do have a ton of kid fans. I don't ever want to talk down to kids and simplify things, but the music's fun. And I find I have lots of kids who come to the shows, and in the summer when I play in Provincetown, we do outside gigs, and I have rows and rows of little ones in the front wanting to come up and join in. It's like nowadays kids' music, it's a huge money maker, and nowadays there's bands that the parents quite like too. In the old days they couldn't bear kids' music. But, I don't classify myself as kids' music. But it's like for all the kids in us, if I'm very pleased if kids come. I do have a song called The Day That Snow White Said the F Word. And that is the most popular song with small children. Whether or not their parents like it is another thing.
Not your problem.
Not my problem. I don't actually say the F word.
No.
When she came down to Orlando, she was only just 18. Got a room in a condo complex and a job inside her childhood dream. And she started as a teacup, and she made friends with the spoon. And the theme park was an oyster, for her eyes were wider than the moon. And through the little window,
so if people would like to hear more of your music, what should they do?
Okay, well, you can go to www.zoelewis.com and I've got all my albums up there. There's videos. I've written 2 musicals. There's information on that. And I do a 1920s show too. And I'm touring all over the world all the time, in between picking up plastic.
Yes, and I saw Zoe when she performed in Providence, and that was a great show. So I recommend you seek her out.
Hooray!
So my name's Jacob Haller, and if you're interested in my music, it's at music.jwgh.org. And I also have a kind of umbrella website at jacobhaller.com where you can find the music, all my podcasts, and all the other crazy stuff I'm doing. Tell Me About Your Song has its own website at tellmeaboutyoursong.com, and you can find it and rate it in iTunes and any place where podcasts can be found, which I hope you do. And with all that said, we're going to go out by listening to the song that we've been talking about in full, Plastic Soup by Zoe Lewis from the album The Sound of Wings. Thanks for listening.
Swirling around in the beautiful blue, somewhere between the equator and you, there's a tear in the sky where the albatross flew. Man and his madness makes nightmares come true. Unfortunately, this is so, and that's why I want you to know. There is an island the size of Texas, a floating island of piles and piles of plastic. It's simply drastic, it's not fantastic, because the fishes all eat plastic soup. And all the currents converge together, bringing plastic. It's catastrophic, it never breaks down, it's microscopic. And now the fishes all eat plastic soup. Do you want some soup? No! Would you like some soup? No! Fancy some soup? No! But we don't want your soup. Do you want some soup? No! Would you like some soup? No! We don't want your plastic soup. Hey! And all the seagulls and the tiny turtles, colossal whales are full of plastic. Even the porpoise is feeling nauseous because he can't digest the plastic soup. And in the food chain, the jellyfishes are sifting water that's full of plastic. Sardines to swordfish, tuna to my dish, and now the humans all eat plastic soup. Do you want some soup? No! Would you like some soup? No! Fancy some soup? No! We don't want your soup. Do you want some soup? No! Would you like some soup? No! We don't want your plastic soup. Plastic bags, plastic wraps, plastic bottles, plastic caps, styrofoam and lobster traps, North Pacific garbage patch, plastic forks, plastic spoons, plastic string on red balloons, plastic cups for plastic tea, just throw it all into the sea! pollution. Stop using plastic, cut down on plastic, change your behavior. You'll be a savior. Let's save the world from plastic soup. Do you want some soup? No. Would you like some soup? No. Let's do some soup. No. We don't want your soup. Do you want some soup? No. Would you like some soup? No. We don't want your plastic. We don't want your plastic. We don't want your plastic soup. No.
Yeah, and it's always kind of interesting. Like, you know, the song that she chose to talk about is one of the relatively serious ones, and
yeah,
it's always interesting. I mean, most of my songs are kind of humorous as well, so I think it's always interesting when someone with more of a humorous bent takes on something more serious than it.
Yeah, I think it's like also if you just think quickly when you're not. You think, oh, well, I better do one that has a story to it. I've got to talk for a while about it. It's like, oh,
yes.
What can I say? I better be saying something important. Not like it's about a tadpole. I just saw a tadpole and it was nice, so I wanted to write about it, There we are. End of interview. Thank you very much.
Yeah. All right. This is the 15-second episode that everyone's been waiting for.
Yeah.